Hi, Jordan. Welcome, and nice to actually finally meet you.
Yeah, you too, Kelly. Happy to be here.
I'm glad you're here. And as I talked about before we got on, I'm flying blind on this podcast today because I don't know much about you. So I'm just gonna run with it and kind of see who you are. And I know based on your social media posts, I love truthfully the vibration you bring in everything you do. I read a Medium post this morning that you wrote recently, which I loved. But beyond that, you've got some good, it's truly a vibration that you put out on social media. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I in some ways for a while there, I felt like I was going crazy because I thought the rules didn't apply to me anymore, and I still think they don't apply to me anymore. Like the rules of what I'm supposed to be or what I'm supposed to do. Um, so when I finally stopped trying to play by the rules, I was just myself. I was
Yeah.
just me. And so I don't know exactly what that vibration is, but whatever I put out there is just me. I don't have any agenda behind it other than it feels good to share those things.
Well, for my podcast listeners, you guys can't see this because I don't do video on my podcast, but I can just see the inner peace that you have. You're very calm. There's like a little aura around you and just the way you speak, even just 2 minutes into this. How did you get there? Because we all want that.
Yeah. Um, I, and I'm not here all the time, I will say. Like, I'm feeling particularly enlightened right now, or just, myself right now. But how I got to be myself was honestly through heartbreak.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been there, done that.
hmm Yeah. And I think there's two different ways we can go with heartbreak, whether it's grief or an actual relationship or our hearts breaking for the lives we never got to live. Whatever
Ooh,
it is that breaks our heart, we can choose to twist in and let that cave us in and let us harden and protect ourselves even more. Or we can let that pain open us up even wider into love or not knowing and into nothing, which is everything. Yeah. And so I think all of us can get to this place of inner peace when we just keep opening.
and keep opening, just no matter what comes at you, just open up to it and then process it? Or what do you mean? By
Yeah, to not judge it. This is the part of my flow that I'm going through right now is I'm realizing my judgment is the only thing blocking me from experiencing love and peace.
I really
And
like that.
yeah, and when I clear myself from judgment and when I stop trying to cling to certainty, judgment and certainty are the two big ones for me. That is what opening is. It's like I don't know. It's almost like we're naturally open. We're naturally relational. But it's when we start clinging to certainty or we start believing the eyes of judgment more than we believe the eyes of love, that is what causes us to close.
I never looked at it that way, but again, like as I've written on many of your posts, you seem to always hit home, and that's why, blindly I asked you to be on my podcast, because you just seem to talk at the same wavelength that I think, and you write in the same wavelength that I think. Even the one Medium post that where you talked about not being centered, which I thought was so fascinating, because everybody, inner peace to me is being centered, but yet you're okay. You didn't judge it. You just went, this is where I am. And you wrote it, and, wow, it's I don't know, just how you articulate yourself is just, even talking to you, I can feel inner peace coming over me, just in the way you're talking today. I can't describe it. I wish my listeners would be able to feel that. But again, that's why you're an inner peace coach, correct?
Yeah, yeah. That I think that's why. I think, you know, really, I think with my coaching, it's even more about letting my people know that they don't have to do this alone anymore. They don't have to feel this alone anymore. I have spent my entire life until recently so alone inside. And part of that was because I spoke a language that not a lot of people speak. Uh, and also because I judged people who I thought couldn't speak my language. Through my own judgment, I created my loneliness. And
Wow.
I was afraid to let people in. I was afraid because it's vulnerable in here, it's scary in here. But when I found my people, when I found people safe enough to let in, um, my life really changed. And so that's what I really want. That's what I'm here to do for my people, is to say, look, like, I get if you need to see for yourself a little longer, if you want to do this by yourself a little longer, I get that, because I had to too. But you know where to find me if you don't want to do this alone anymore.
That's and that's very powerful, because it's kind of the uh I don't know, the opposite of what they think on social media, is where you're trying to, create a sales funnel and get clients or whatever. And you're like, I got what I got. And when you're ready, you'll be ready. And if not, it's okay. It's okay. And the fun part about that is that drew up a lesson that I learned from my life coach that I had years ago. And some of the messages she gave me, I didn't resonate. And then 3 years later, I'll text her like, oh, that's what you mean. And I'm sure, do you get those too? There's like, oh, yeah, I wasn't ready then, because there's sometimes, and I wrote somewhere probably on Medium or whatever about how we're ready to receive messages. And you actually are doing that, just saying, hey, when you're ready, you'll be ready.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. And again, the lack of judgment in there is so powerful. I'm again overwhelmed with peace, just thinking about what you just said. I mean, you're already changing me and how I think right now, right here, while we're recording this.
Wow, this is so fun. This
It
is
is
so
fun, because we're both coaches, and I just, you speak it again. You talked about that, and I liken people in life on a racetrack, like the 400 meters, right? And everybody's running around the track. Some people a little farther along than you are, so you may not have the same speed as them, but I kind of liken you as being a little farther down that racetrack than I am, but I'm ready to receive that message, if you will. And that's
Mhm. Yeah,
neat, because all your clients feel this amazing amount of peace when they talk to you?
I I don't know, but I don't know exactly what they feel, but I do know that every time we talk, like magic happens.
Yeah,
I feel the magic. Hmm.
that is, I love it.
But it's
Because go on.
sorry, I was gonna just say that the magic happens only because we don't try. I don't try to make the magic happen.
That's a powerful. Again, how long have you been doing this? Now, being an inner peace coach.
Only a couple of years now. Yeah. Aw, puppy.
Yeah, that's my girl Ginny.
Hi, Jane.
Uh, and she's a sweetheart. But you've just doing this for 2 years. Did you work in the corporate world? What did you do before that, or what's kind of your origin story? What led up to all of this? If you
Yeah,
want to talk about it.
sure. I actually got my degree in engineering and civil
What?
engineering. Yeah. So I worked in transportation engineering for 4 years, and I it wasn't my people. I think that's kind of what it ultimately came down to, was I still felt lonely and I still felt not enough. It's like that Einstein quote, although I don't know if it's an Einstein quote because Einstein gets quoted for a lot of things he didn't say. But whoever said that quote about um, something about don't judge a fish for its ability to climb a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like I was in this environment where I wasn't that good at engineering, like the actual, and because I didn't really enjoy it. And so I quit and I started pursuing writing. And then I was realizing, man, I do this coaching stuff, whatever that is, in my personal relationships. I wonder if I could just start charging people for it, charging strangers on the internet for it, and see what happens. That's literally my origin story.
That is wonderful though, because it's somewhat, you know, similar to mine is because I was a computer programmer for 25 years. And
Wow.
again, they weren't my people, but the thread of it was is I had an ability to actually, one of my gifts is my ability to elevate people, you know, and I listen to a
Uh,
lot of law of attraction stuff. And one of the basic tenets of that is when you're around people, you focus on their good stuff. You keep focusing on them and they stay around, you can keep elevating them. If they don't, then, you know, you move on. But I've done that with my computer programming career and my filmmaking career. And like you, like, you know, now I'm a holistic life coach plus, and I also do podcasts in conjunction with that. But then podcasting is so much fun for me. I love having these kind of conversations, just raw, organic. Didn't know you from Adam or Eve, but yet
yeah,
here we are. And I love that. I, that to me is a better endorphin than most of the programming that I ever did,
yeah,
or even the filmmaking. Because if my filmmaking friends know what it's like to be on set when it's the coolest feeling, because you got about 25 to 30 people all working for the same goal. And that energy is just like an endorphin rush, but I get the same thing out of this. And that's why, like you, it's just like, okay, I do this already in my personal life with people. They ask me, and, you know, and I'm like, all right, I've done it everywhere. So why not get paid to do it?
yeah, yeah. You're a natural at the podcasting thing, and I'm sure at the coaching thing too. I mean, anybody who's brave enough to go into this space of like to have a conversation with somebody, starting from nothing, like starting from no homework or no judgments or whatever, that's brave. But that is where you can really shine.
Well, it's fun though. I really, it was for me, I love challenges. Like
Mhm.
in 2019, I literally left California and moved back to Texas, which is home for me. and I
Mhm.
didn't have a job or a car or a place to live. And I showed up here in Rockport and found a place the next morning and had a job a couple weeks later. And to me, that was a challenge. It was a mental, like, can I do that? I packed
Yeah.
up a van with my dog and drove for 2 straight days.
Mhm.
Stopped in El Paso, but it was a challenge. And this podcast with you specifically was, I relished the challenge of not knowing really anything about you and going, let's see where this goes. And then you just bring this shining aura right into the window it's just, I hope my listeners can hear how aligned you are because it's amazing. I personally think it's amazing.
Wow. Thank you. I received that. And I have to check welcome in all of my parts that are like, oh wow, like the magic is happening. Let's make sure it keeps happening. Like I have these parts that see it and get excited, and they're like, okay, yeah, so we have to stay this certain way so the magic happens. And yeah, that it's just that's kind of like part of being open, is seeing that and being like, okay, welcome. Like, welcome. I'm not gonna try to like make you go away because you're unenlightened. I'm not gonna believe you either, but like you have a space here in the conversation.
Yeah, and as coaches, that's what we do is we make space. We literally make a container for that person that we're talking to. And for me, it's on the podcast too. I give you a safe space to be your true authentic self with, again, with no judgment. I mean, you know, it's, that's what we do because if we can do that, then they'll open up and then we can actually help them make the magic because we're not making the magic for them. They're making the magic on their own because they're
Mhm.
changing their vibration of who they are. And that's what a lot of your social media is about. It's all vibration. Like you talked about one about the little, about the kid, which was, that hit home because, I've had trauma as a child, but which I've
Yeah,
put to bed, but still it hit home because it's like, wow,
yeah,
she puts those kinds of things out there. I got to know who this is. And I'm so glad that you even said yes.
yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah, are you talking about the one about how I hope you get to live the childhood you never got to have?
Oh,
Is
you're
that the
going to make me
one?
cry. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Because that's awesome, though. I have a process now that I don't have a car, so I ride my bike to work, which is 2 miles or so. And there's a little field, and I just picture that child going, yeah, you're living the life that you thought you would. And
Yeah.
and I do that a lot. And then it's, but it's in, like you said, it's no judgment, which is, I'm really going to replay this back and take a lot of notes because I kind of want to focus on you and what you're talking about and come back to you. But I will listen to this again because you're very profound, but yet I know it comes from not only a place of healing, but also a place of truth, right?
Yeah. I mean, truth is truth is still sort of tricky for me because for so long I grew up in a conservative Christian background, and I thought truth was something that had to be defended, or it had to be absolute, or the truth, finding the truth was worth any means to get there. I have so much baggage around truth. And well, and even beyond that baggage, I have this part of me that stresses out about the truth. Is it true or not? And that's really stressful to have to decide if it's true or not. So I don't really, I think it is truth that I feel, but what I look for now is it helpful? Is this thought helpful? It, is this way of being helpful or unhelpful? And I'd go with what's helpful. And I think maybe what's helpful leads to truth. I don't know if it always does, but if I only have one life to live, I want to think helpful thoughts to enjoy living it.
Right, I agree. And uh, just to piggyback on that a little bit, truth for me is it's not only the preconceived notion that we have in society of truth is all these good things, but it's also those bad things too. And once you start owning all of that, and as you say, don't pass judgment. It's just there, and then all of a sudden it falls away. It turns to dust, no matter what it is, even if it's a good truth or bad. Then you just let it go. And is it helpful? Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where I'm going with my personal life, is my journaling, is exploring what really is my truth, because there's some layers. You got to there's a lot of veneer with all of us, and myself personally, I have a lot to peel away some layers and whatever. So, but truth
Yeah.
still, as you talk about, you give it a container and no, you don't judge it, and then ask yourself, is that helpful? If it is, use that to your advantage. Why
Yeah.
not, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Something just occurred to me. I don't know if it's true or not, but do you mind if I share it or talk through
Please,
it?
please. That's what this is about.
I probably won't explain it very clearly, but I I think the feeling of truth really matters. Like the relationship between truth and judgment really matters, because so often I have tried to find the truth so I can adjust all my judgments based around that truth. Like the truth becomes a should and a supposed to. If the truth is a should and a supposed to, I think that's just a certainty we're clinging to so we can feel like we can have control over our lives because now we're making the right judgments on things. But I feel like there's a deeper truth, a truth that isn't about judgment at all. It's the opposite of judgment. And I think that is the real truth, when judgment doesn't make sense anymore.
Whoa, whoa. I got to let that sink in. The real truth is the truth. Where there's no judgment, or judgment doesn't make any sense anymore. I really love that. That's very profound. Wow. I have to digest that. Holy cow.
Yeah, honestly, me too. That just kind of popped into my mind. I don't know if
Oh,
that's I'll have to digest that one too.
I love it though. I mean, Jordin, I think that's great, because that's what it is. That's wow. I know. She's got to be in the picture apparently.
Yeah, rightfully
Yeah.
so.
She's, gosh, she'll be 13 in March.
Oh
13
wow.
human years. Yeah.
13 human years. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
91 dog years for those of us who
Wow.
could do math.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm retired from doing math now. When I quit engineering, I was like,
Yeah. I just in side note, I got a friend that I work with, and she's like 19, and she's taking calculus in college, and she's like killing it. I'm like, how do you do that? Because I know with your engineering degree, you had to do that calculus stuff,
oh yeah,
derivatives, and all of that. Oh,
yeah,
have mercy.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
I love it.
actually, out of all the maths, I really enjoyed calculus the most. It felt the most like poetry to me.
There's a lot of people that would say that.
Yeah.
I know people that would say that.
Hmm.
You know, one of the interesting things you said at the beginning was talking about certainty, because I go to a certain point of where uh, there's some people who like variety in their life, and there's people who like certainty. And certainty, and I wrote in my journal this morning, is that I'm a comfort zone addict. Seriously, I am, and certainty falls into that. And you said something about where it's just outside of the scope of certainty, where you, and can you talk a little bit how you came to that? Because that, I kind of want to revisit that, just my own personal growth. Hopefully my
Hmm.
listeners will get something out of it too.
Sure. Yeah, I'll do my best. I think we all are comfort zone addicts. I think a lot of us are. Even those who like seek adrenaline, the adrenaline is their comfort zone. Like that is where they feel comfortable. I don't know if that's true or not, but that has been my experience. Uh, and so with certainty, I after my divorce, I found out that my husband was cheating on me most of our marriage, and that was my worst fear come true. Like all of my trauma, all of my daddy issues, and then the heartbreak of that particular experience too was just inflamed in my spirit. Like it was all I could see. And I did a lot of things trying to ease that pain. I went to the gym a lot. I lost a lot of weight. I switched my acne medication. I started reading, like getting super into spirituality, and also super frustrated that I lost my peace, all of it. And I came to a point where I was realizing that all the going to the gym, trying to make myself um, more admirable, even trying to become enlightened, all of that was me trying to cling to certainty that if I do these things, I can be certain I will not experience this heartbreak ever again.
Wow.
And I still, yeah, I mean, whenever I'm stressing myself out, most all the time, it's because I'm trying to figure out the right way to control my life so that I can have certainty that I will never have another bad moment. And that if I do have a bad moment, I will be so enlightened that it won't bother me anymore.
I see.
Like I I sell my soul. I've sold my soul for certainty.
Ooh.
That that I will believe what the patriarchy says about me, what capitalism says about me. I will believe that and I will achieve that because they promised me that if I achieve that, I can be certain that I matter. I can be certain that I'm enough. If I can just jump through all of these hoops, if I can just look good enough, if I can just find a partner, if I could just make enough money, then I can be certain that I'm enough.
Ooh.
I sell my soul for certainty.
That's fascinating. I've never heard anybody ever say that And that's powerful because it resonates with me because, you know, that's pretty much most of my life is selling my soul to certainty. And I'm, again, like I wrote in my journal today, I'm a comfort addict, which is certainty. Comfort and certainty, are best friends. They're related. So that's interesting. And how did you come to the point of saying, no, sorry, but certainty, you're not part of me anymore? How did you just wake up one day? Or was it gradual? How did you get there?
Well, it's gradual and it's still happening to me, but I began to realize that certainty doesn't exist. Like capitalism and the patriarchy in our society, they promise certainty. Donald Trump promises certainty that he will keep us safe, which is why so many Americans clung to that, not to him, but to the certainty that their fears will be safe, their fears won't come true. Everybody offers the promise of certainty, but it doesn't actually exist.
Nope.
And I was killing myself trying to actually achieve certainty. And certainty requires that we tame ourselves. And I didn't want to live tamed anymore. The opposite of certainty, or I don't know if it's the opposite, but where I wanted to go was wide open space, was the wildness, was my own humanity and radical connection with myself and other people. And I wanted to heal. And I realized if I was going to heal the patriarchy inside of me, capitalism inside of me, racism inside of me, I had to treat myself better than they treated me.
Bingo.
I had, and so in order to do that, because as soon as I started treating myself better, as soon as I started being kind to myself, another part would come in and say, if you're too kind to yourself, you're going to get lazy and you're going to like fall apart and you're not, your life is going to be miserable. That part was like, if you be kind to yourself, you're never going to be certain that your life will end up okay. And I had to risk it. I'm not certain that my life will be okay. I'm not certain that I'll never have another heartbreak. I'm not certain I'll never be cheated on again. I'm not certain about anything. But in exchange for my certainty, I get me. Like I get everything that makes me actually feel alive while I'm living.
You traded one for the other, which is beautiful. And I just wish people could see how amazing that is. And maybe that's a note for me, because eventually someday I'll start a YouTube channel and post these under it, because, I love it because you went through you got to treat yourself better than all these other things. And that's the way it's kind of a dichotomy, because it's a little bit of certainty, because once you are certain that you're going to treat yourself better, the certainty that you wanted everywhere else goes away.
Sure.
Yeah, that's neat. I love that. But again, that's a huge thread within everything that you've done on social media, that I see you on Twitter or I see you on Instagram. That rings true in pretty much all your posts, that you're out there, doing that. And I just think that's phenomenal, personally. So, and that is neat. I'm just talking out loud, processing what you just said. So, which is beautiful. And I'm sure your clients, go through the same feeling that I'm getting just recording a podcast. Like when you talk about certainty, which is, it's its own little container over here, and you're just like, okay, I forget it. I'm not certain about anything but me and my truth and who I am. And that's, you feel more alive now than you've ever felt in your life, right?
Yeah, I do. I do. I really do.
It's neat.
Yeah, for pointing that out. Hmm.
What it's, you have me a loss for words, which most of my friends will tell me that's not normal for me. I can always come up with something, but where do you go from here?
Um, I I participate in the grace of today and trust it to be enough. That's my motto for this year and maybe for the rest of my life. I just I live here today. I do my best to live here today. And if I often go out into the future or go into the past or I judge people all the time. I judge myself all the time still. And I just, if that happens, I forgive myself and I come back, like I clear it. Like I had last night, I had to go through a whole forgiveness process with myself for forgiving myself that I wasn't AOC, forgiving myself that I'm not like this, like super, I don't know, whoever I think I'm supposed to be. I had to forgive myself for that.
Right.
So that's what I do. That's where I go.
That's, and what type of spiritual practices do you practice to get to those points? Do you do meditation? Do you do journaling? What do you, anything off the beaten path that you do or no?
Um, well, this, the past 6 months or so, I've committed to myself that I'm not doing anything that I'm supposed to do. So if nothing else, that is my spiritual path, is if I'm supposed to do it, I don't, if I don't want to do it, maybe that's more of it. I don't do anything I don't want to do, even if
Right.
it's meditation, even if it's yoga, even if it's like something good. If I don't want to do it, I don't do it. But when I do meditate, uh, it's great. It's magic because I want to do it.
Yeah.
But I will say um, I've had two major tools that have come into my life other than the people I'm around. I would say the people that I communicate with are the biggest catalyst to my change, my own evolution. But other than that, a few years ago, I really came into the Enneagram, and that really helped show me the spirituality of the Enneagram, not like the personality typing tool. It's a
Right.
personality.
Right.
But that helped show me a lot of my own shadow, a lot of my own games that I was playing. It helped show me my worthiness games and my certainty games that I play on a new level. Um, I don't spend as much time thinking about that anymore, but that was a really big pivotal moment in my life. But recently, I have been obsessed with this modality called internal family systems, or IFS.
Mm-hmm.
Highly recommend that. That is my primary modality that I coach my clients through
Mm-hmm.
when it's time to use it. But yeah, it's super fascinating.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. And I love the words, you've used the phrase certainty games, and I just think that is so, I love
Mhm.
that. That made me smile inside because we all play that game in our head. Because part of my coaching is every thought matters. So, and I go down a Buddhist path of watching your thoughts, like
Yeah.
literally just watch them because I believe you receive thoughts, you don't think thoughts. So,
Mm.
and when you receive them, you just watch them and go, okay, yeah, and that's good. It's kind of like a Tinder swipe left, swipe right kind of thing, you know. And I playing the certainty games is looking at those thoughts and go, yeah, yeah, okay. And I struggle with certainty personally because that's, because of childhood trauma and things like that made me cling to that like it was oxygen. And we all play that, and I play it. I know people that are really, really good at living life in a variety, meaning they don't care about certain. They just want to go play, and they'll try something. And yet, I get people who, like a friend of mine in LA, told me it's like I love. She told me I love that you're out there trying to do this. Like there's no certainty in the podcast game. The only thing I'm certain of, and I am pretty well certain of, is I love it. It's fun for me. I love talking to people. I work at the world's largest retail chain, so I talk to customers all the time, and
Uh,
I have an ability to connect to people, and I love it, and that's why the podcast is so much fun.
mhm.
And I know I'm certain of that, but there's
Yeah.
nothing about this podcast. I don't know what it's going to look like at the end of 2021. I don't. I've got a couple more guests booked up. I've got two or three, backlog trying to find
Mhm.
time in their schedule and my schedule to match up. Blah blah blah.
Mhm.
So, but we do. Gosh, I play the certainty game all the time. Holy
Mhm.
cow!
Mhm. I mean, me too. But I'm catching glimpses. I love that you mentioned play because when we stop trying to cling to certainty and we stop judging, all that's left is play.
Interesting. Yeah, I agree.
Like that is the childhood we never got to have. It's our certainty and our judgments that
Oh
make
yeah,
us afraid to play.
yeah, yeah. Like that little 8-year-old me playing in the. There's a little spot there. I just
Mhm.
imagine, and I've physically visualized a picture of me as when I was 8, because I have
Mhm.
one and I carry it in my wallet all the time, and I
Mhm.
picture 8-year-old me playing,
Yeah.
and I'll say it in my head, it's okay, and then I
Oh,
see the joy. I see the joy in that
yeah.
kid. It's like it's all right. I turned out okay.
I'm getting chills.
Aw,
That's so good.
it's it's just that's journey. I mean, I've been through a lot of therapy and whatever else to deal with it, and I've put a lot of stuff behind me, and I'm grateful for that. But for me to get to that point is like you said, every day's a miracle, and that's for me. It's a miracle that I'm there, and I I do a lot of my coaching centered around you know certainty, and then a little bit of certainty or variety. Is you can find people, you can talk to them within 5 minutes. You're going to know whether or not they're about certainty or they're about variety. It's really, as a coach, I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then there's a gal by the name of Sally Hogshead who's wrote a book on how to fascinate. And when it comes to vocational stuff, you want to be fascinated by it. And I'm fascinated by people. So,
Mhm.
and I also ask people about their vocation, and they got to ask them. I have to ask them what fascinates you about this. Why? You know, like you did. You peeled away a lot of layers to find those truths, but you got to peel a lot of layers to find out what really fascinates me about coaching. And for me, it's people, because the more you talk to people, the more you learn about yourself. Because people are mirrors to us, and I find that all the freaking time.
Mhm.
I do. I have a friend of mine that comes into the deli where I work, and he's always bubbly and everything, and it's so overwhelming at first, and then I adjust to it, and then it's like it's great because I just see this beautiful free spirit, and like wow, so I just
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing your story and your thoughts. It's really an honor to be let in on that.
Well, again, going back to the beginning, is we give ourselves a container here in which to be free, and we literally did not know each other before this, other than follow each other on social media, whatever, which is whatever to me. That's not a connection, and I love the connection to another human is the best thing for me personally. It makes I don't know. It's my drug of choice more than anything else, and that's why I love doing this. But I also love hearing your story and where you're at. And I love the fact that you said, I'm not happy being an engineer. And I'm already helping people. Why not get paid to do it? And then here you are providing guidance, even for me, just pretty much every day. I'll see your posts. I'm like, okay, yep, she's right on that one. Yep, that one. Yep, and it's to the point where I'll share it. I'm like, come on, people, just go follow her. You're going to get that. But again, messages are ready or sent, but it doesn't mean that, message in the bottles made it to the shoreline yet.
Yeah. 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 That's a thing that I've had to really put down about social media, as this heaviness of like trying to get people to like me or to follow me. I'm really not interested in trying on social media anymore. But what I do love about it is it helps me open a window and let myself out. It's like it's just a space to play in and to connect with people in and to make magic in. Whether I have doesn't matter how many people follow me or not. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Like I'm the same way, especially about my podcast, because I don't have like stupidly huge numbers, but I'm asking people right and left, and how it is. Like, say, and to use it in the dating world, like you think somebody's out of your league, which to me is a load of BS. But you'd think somebody is out of my league to come on my podcast because I'm kind of I started in November of last year, so I'm kind of new. But I still ask these people, like, and I'm like, I'm not afraid because it's not about the numbers. It's about this kind of, like, especially today, this kind of connection. I was nervous about it, and it's blowing me away. And it's amazing because you bring a great amount of presence to this. But so, and it's been way better than I thought it would be because I knew I was flying blind today. I knew I was flying blind, Jordin. I really did.
I'm so glad you did, though. I mean, because I have parts of me that were nervous too. So I appreciate you saying that. But I think that's like part of the real connection is like there's a certain excitement around meeting somebody new and knowing you're gonna connect with them. You're not gonna like have to live up to these certain judgments of who you think you're supposed to be, or you don't have these questions ready to fall back on. Like it's just pure connection. But it's been
Yeah,
magic.
it is, and I love it. But I, the only thing I was certain of is we both have the similar vibrations of how life and you know just just yeah, I can't even put it in any different words. And other than that, it's like we have the same kind of vibrations about life and about where we're at, and you know, certainty addict that I am and the comfort addict that I am. I always, and I've also said too, to my newer moniker for myself is I'm a recovering people pleaser. And I'm, again, part of my truth. That's what it is, because that was my coping mechanism as a child. That was the way I could be happy. And now that doesn't serve me, and I look for things that serve me, that satisfy me, because the word satisfy is like You look so satisfied. It's not even funny, girl. I seriously, you really, really do. Like, and a lot of people have this misconception about satisfaction being complacent or content, but I don't see it that way. I love doing things that satisfy me.
Mhm.
Like this, doing this podcast, I'll have an endorphin rush for about 3 hours afterwards. I
Good.
guarantee you I will, because this is how I want it to go. Is when I have conversations like this that are so raw, so organic, yet
Mhm.
you're giving me a huge container to be Kelly, all of me, 360, every bit of who I am in one space, and I'm giving you the same,
Yeah.
and we're both radiating out of that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'll have a big endorphin rush after this.
Yeah,
Seriously,
I will too.
good,
Like this
good.
goes both ways. Yes, it's great.
Have you
It's
ever done a podcast before?
yeah, I've done a few, not very many, but a few of them.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, yeah. I this is the first one because I haven't done it in a little while, but I feel most like myself here. Yeah.
Oh, you're glowing. Seriously, your aura is truly shining, and I hope my listeners can hear that and feel it and feel your positive energy, but not just that, your vibration, because that's what changes us. That's about the only thing that's certain is vibration, and
Yeah.
it changes all the time, and change is the only constant, right?
Hmm.
So
Yep.
that's an interesting thing. I'm fascinated. You want to talk about anything else? I feel like I could talk to you for hours because we're just in this
Yeah.
glow of, oh, I feel so good.
Yeah.
I really do. Because I had a preconceived notion because I get usually Monday and Tuesdays off, and then taping on Tuesday means I have to start my day tomorrow and go back to work or whatever. Because I have what we call a survival job, which I'm sure you're aware of.
Uh-huh.
And aside from my coaching, so I can pay the bills, and I thought, okay, I got to work today. And this girl, Jordin, this is not work. This is play, isn't it?
It's
Don't you
play.
feel like a little kid?
Yeah.
I feel
I
like a little kid,
yeah. Yeah.
which is
Which is
neat.
so precious because when we were kids, we didn't we just knew instinctively how to play together. Like we could go up to a total stranger in the sandbox and start building and playing. Like we knew how to do that. But
Yeah,
as we grow up, we forget how to play with each other. We forget how to
we do.
actually connect.
Yeah, I agree. And I always want to go back to that with it as a human is just play more and use your imagination more because you could make an entire city out of that sandbox in your
Hmm.
head.
Oh yeah.
And that's what we did as kids. We did that. Or, you know, growing up, I'm from a very small town in Iowa where I grew up. And so we had literally, 400 people. So you had to have imagination to do stuff
Hmm.
because there wasn't much to do, right? You know, there was one park, that was it. So we figured out how to go play catch or go play
Hmm.
baseball or go play football or whatever. My younger stepbrother and I used to play. We bought some racquetball rackets and tennis balls, and we would play a version of tennis and racquetball off the side of the school wall. Like we used our imagination. We were
Yep.
kids, and that's what we did. It was just like, and it was fun. It was great exercise, of course. And he would beat me because he was an athlete, and not an athlete. But it was the best times. I hadn't thought about that moment in forever, like 20 years or so at least.
Yeah.
And that's what we would do.
Hmm.
We knew we would draw a chalk line and everything. And that was out of bounds and score it. I don't know if we scored it like tennis or if we scored it like racquetball. And that's what we did. We would just grab our rackets. We had, you know, my dad and stepmom kicked us out of the house, come home when the lights turned on kind of day. And that's what we would do all day in the
Yeah.
summer.
Yeah. Here you
But we had,
are recreating that for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just that little boy that's sitting in that field over there where that's what we had in my little town was fields, and we played football in the outfield of a softball diamond. We didn't have a football field. That's where we would play.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we would do. We'd get on our bikes and ride. You
Yeah.
know,
Right. Right.
and use our imaginations.
Hmm.
I would imagine myself being Michael Jordan when I played basketball. We had short hoops, so and I was still growing and whatever. So we had short hoops where as a little guy I could actually dunk on. So I always imitated Michael Jordan dunks.
Love it.
This was when he was in North Carolina though,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
way before his NBA career.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Oh,
God, you
that's
bring out the
so
kid in
great.
me.
Yeah.
I love
Well,
that.
yeah. I mean, I think about as adults trying to do that. So often we would be like, this is a softball field. We can't play football here. Like
Right.
these are short hoops. Like we can't feel good about ourselves playing on these short hoops. Like we would judge ourselves. We stop ourselves from like everything has to be this perfect or like there's
Right.
people watching. We can't play here.
Yep.
It's our
You
own
just
judgment that gets in the way.
Yeah, it's just opening up our imaginations. And you talked about opening up and just I don't remember how you said it because now I have to go replay it because I will because I got to listen to it and I do all the audio editing and everything of this and listen to it because you talked about opening up that container and just letting it all in and when you remove judgment on anything, it just opens everything else up and it becomes bigger and greater and then you let more in because then you let more goodness in, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. And that's what kids do though.
That is.
They look at them and go, whatever. They're different than me. Whatever. Can you catch the ball? Yeah. All right. Great. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if play is what we did before we learned to judge things.
I wonder about that too. Because play is not just in games and activities, but just being playful. Just like there's a video, I'll send it to you on Twitter of this little girl that went viral. It's like 100,000 retweets or whatever, and it's the mom videotaping her little girl who's in the backpack with her dad, and the little girl is seeing the waterfall for the first time.
Oh, yeah, please send that
It
to me.
Yes, but
Yeah.
that's how we should be. Is that awe like almost my mom always says there's little miracles every day. You just got to look for them. And that little girl is looking at that waterfall as a miracle. And that's what we do when we play. When my brother and I made up a game, we literally made up a game that I can remember 40 years later,
Yeah.
literally. And we
Yeah.
made up this game, our own rules, our own scoring. The only thing that was, sort of static was the ball and the racket.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. That's what you're free to do when you realize the society's rules don't apply to you anymore.
Oh,
You go into your own.
wow.
And the little girl looking at the waterfall, that's not how we should be. That's how we are. That is
Yeah,
our
that's
natural state. And when we're not there, it's just an opportunity to meet ourselves in our judgment and forgive ourselves for that
yep.
and see if it's ready to be cleared. And then we return to everything being a miracle.
That's what play is, though,
It is.
right?
Yeah, super is.
Do you know who Gordana Biernat is?
No.
You should, because she talks about us as humans when we were born. We had all of exactly what you just said. We are playful and open, and then we get all these programming inside of us, the societal programming, and then you find joy when you go back to being that like this girl in the waterfall. You're gonna love it. It's gonna give you chills, and I can hear the little girl's voice. But and then Jordin is one that I'm gonna have on my podcast at some point in time. Like I said before, I'm telling you, I love her. She's like one of the Oprah has recognized her, and so on and so forth. She's got a book that's really, it's not like a self-help book. It's more of it's a guidebook. Like you can pick a number between 1 and 233, read a few pages, and it'll give you some wisdom and some insight. It's so good. And
Oh, that's great.
yeah, I'll hook you up with that. And she
Yeah.
typically follows most healers like us. So I just called myself a healer. That's funny.
Yeah, how do you feel about that?
Overwhelmed, but you bring out something in me it's been dormant for a long time. I don't even know if it ever existed, but it's like it's wow. I don't. You bring out the child in me. I
Yeah.
love that. I'm grateful for that, and that's neat because I love the way you write and the way what you do, and literally it's a judgment free zone, which what you do, and that resonated with me and just made me aspire to be a little bit better as always. But because people are mirrors, I don't, Jordin, we all are mirrors to each other.
Yeah.
And I teach people at work, when we work in customer service, it's like that customer might be yelling at you. That's 80% about whatever's going on in their life, maybe 20% about you. So just remember that and let them. I've had people talk about stuff that I don't talk about anymore, politics and stuff like that, because I don't need that gray matter, that gray stuff in my head. And I just let them vent though. And I smile and I make them feel better that they had somebody to talk to. And now I have customers that just walk by and wave at me and smile and say, "Hey Kelly, how you doing? I appreciate you," all the time. Just because I do what you did when you first walked into this podcast. It gave me a container to be me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's your gift, man.
It is a gift that we both have that gift of being able to do that. So I think we should actually wrap this up because otherwise I'm going to talk to you for days. Honest to
Yeah.
goodness, I could. You're
Uh-huh.
that. You're seriously that you're that spiritually beautiful that I could just absorb as much energy from you to last me a long, long time. But how can people find you? And if you want to do a plug for your coaching, talk about that. You can give your little. I'd love my listeners to know about you because I personally would highly recommend you.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. Well, you can find me at jordinjames.com, or on Twitter, Instagram at just Jordin James.
Mm-hmm.
I spell my name Jordin with an I, so it's Jordin. And that's about it. I mean, my coaching, I'm so loyal to the magic. Like the magic happens when it's the right fit at the right time. So I'm not interested in convincing anybody of that. Like it comes together when it comes together. But yeah, you know where to find me now.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. Yeah, yeah. You just give me. I have one of my friends that she's used to be my coach, and now she's a friend of mine, and she says she gets downloads all the time, and that's kind of what I'm feeling right now with you.
Oh, great. Oh, that's such a fun feeling.
It doesn't happen to me very often. I've got so many people lined up in the backlog. When one of them is a former pro beach volleyball player, and she and I went out to LA to visit her before I lived there, and I had that moment where the entire universe, honest to goodness, I was like at this apex of downloading everything. I can tell you almost exactly what day. I know the day and exactly the time and exactly where I was. I was reading
Wow.
the book. She gave me the book, The Four Agreements, and I just started reading it, and the whole universe just opened up.
That's so
It was
lovely.
so, and it doesn't happen very often. Is why I'm, a spiritual seeker to this day, is because I want to get back to that. That was nirvana to me,
Yeah.
and I learned a lot from you today. Not just being my guest, but just who you are and what you bring to the table. I've learned. This is one I'm going to probably take notes with after I actually, record the podcast and get it uploaded and all that good stuff. I do appreciate you taking the time and the space and having a wonderful rest of your day. I really do appreciate you so much.
Yeah.
Can't believe
Yeah.
I get to know you now. That's awesome.
Oh, I know. Look at this. We're friends now.
Yes, we are. You
Yeah.
have a wonderful day. Okay.
Yeah, you too, Kelly.
All
Let's
right. I'll talk to you later.
bye.
Bye.